This is Duke Devil 95. My name is Brad Burnett, and we're here once again for another exciting, quote, exciting, uh, recap of D Plus's MCU's Secret Invasion, starring broken down, sad Nick Fury. Oddly enough, stuff actually happened in this episode. Actually happened.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, I'm amazed too. This week's episode picks up where we left off last week, kind of where we left off last week with the dead Gaia on the ground. Well, guess what? She's not dead. No, of course not, because she was able to get some super Skrull formula in her. Yep, somehow she read the mind of the human scientist who apparently was working on DNA splicing with superpowers. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me. The human that's she reads the mind of the human who's strapped to the machine while the Skrull's impersonating that human, which means the Skrull is using the human's knowledge. That's how it's supposed to work. Whatever. I don't think they realized what they were writing. Anyway, she's absorbed some extremis virus, so she's not dead. So that bullet hole heals up, and she's good to go. Off to fight another day like nothing ever happened. So now we got two definitive Super Skrulls.
Super Skrulls.
We got Gravik, and now we got Gaia. After everyone's favorite acid trip by an AI's version of opening sequences and titles, we flash back to about 2012, where we see Nick Fury meeting with his wife Priscilla. I think they're in Paris, and it's right after the events of the Avengers. And she talks about, the fact that, she's heard about everything that happened with the superheroes and pretty certain he's involved, and how she's kind of proud of him and everything. But really, we know that Nick Fury had nothing to do with it, because who's responsible for all of Nick Fury's successes?
Skrulls.
Yeah, that's right. It's the Skrulls. It's the Skrulls. Anyway, there's a sequence where they interact, and she talks about a book she's reading, a book of poems by some guy named Raymond Carver, and she says he's known for his brevity.
He's known for his brevity.
Too bad this show isn't being a little more brief. And they read a line, conversation between two people. I guess this is supposed to be a poem. It says, "And did you get what you wanted from this life? Even so, I did. And what did you want? To call myself beloved, to feel myself beloved on the earth." And that ties into the title of the episode, and will come up later on. We then flash forward to the present, and we see that Mrs. Fury, Priscilla, is meeting with, Skrull Rhodey. Skrull Rhodey is there. They meet in a church, and he says, you have to go kill Fury. And she's like, we don't need to kill Fury. Fury's all broken down, and he's worthless. Ever since he came back from the blip, he's a shell of his former self. Well, yeah, she's kind of right, because that's all we've seen. He's looking pathetic. He's gets Maria Hill killed. Can't do much of anything. We've learned that he's a terrible husband. We've learned that he breaks his promises to all the Skrulls, and we learned that he's a terrible friend to Gravik, and that again all of his success is basically due to the Skrulls. So honestly, I don't know why anyone's worried about Nick Fury at this point. Regardless, Skrull Rhodey says go kill him. So that's what Priscilla's off to do. Now, of course, Nick Fury is onto the whole thing, because we know only Skrulls call Nick Fury Nick, not Fury, because we already discussed that previously, except for all the people who call Fury Nick. But he's onto everything. He's actually somehow planted a bug on his wife, so he's listening to this whole conversation. He knows that Rhodey is a Skrull. I think he suspected before. So he's gonna, when his wife leaves, she's obviously going to meet up with him, and he's going to be ready for her. But here's the weird thing about this. I noticed this, and it just really stuck out to me. So we got Skrull Rhodey here saying, he fired Nick Fury, right? And he just doesn't say I fired him. He said I DDT'd him from the top rope, Undertaker style.
I DDT'd that dude from the top rope. Yeah, it was like Undertaker level.
What the hell? What, this is so bizarre and random of an insert. I mean, suddenly, this Skrull who apparently is taking over for Rhodey is a huge WWE fan. So in between being a Skrull rebel trying to destroy the planet, he's watching Monday Night Raw. Okay, yeah, we'll wipe out the human race, but save the WWE. Hey, Vince McMahon's going to be real happy about that one, isn't he?
It's all
We then get a quick scene where one of the Skrulls, Pagon, is talking to Gravik about where Gaia is. She's missing what's going on, and Gravik admits, hey, she's the mole. I took care of her. But now they're now working on a plan because Gravik's plan is to strike on a high profile American target. Come on, we know who that's going to be, and they're going to do it disguised as Russian troops. So again, the Skrulls are working to put the Americans and the Russians at loggerheads. Big old nasty fight, nuke the planet, save the WWE. We then see Talos and Gaia meeting by a lake, talking about everything that's happened. Talos starts apologizing to her. She says she doesn't need an apology. What she wants is a plan. We need to, what are we going to do here about this? And he's like, well, I have a plan, but it's not what you want. We're going to put down me, Fury, and you. We're going to put down the rebel Skrulls and use that as a bargaining chip to get amnesty. Because once the president sees all the good we've done, we're going to get amnesty for all 1 million Skrulls. But wait a minute, why doesn't he just tell them about all the things he's done over the years to help Nick Fury become Nick Fury? I mean, clearly Talos is responsible for the creation of the Avengers, right? Nick Fury didn't do it. He didn't do crap.
Skrulls.
Anyway, Gaia does not like the plan. She tells her dad that he's delusional, and she then takes off. Back at Casa de Fury, Priscilla comes home. She finds Nick's wedding ring on the table. He's in the kitchen making tea. They sit down and decide to have a chat. And Nick basically confronts her about working for Gravik. He says, of all the things he's done in his life, she is his greatest mistake. When he knew he shouldn't have, kept going forward with this relationship, he still did, despite all of his better instincts. Yet at the same time, wasn't he relying on all the Skrulls to tell him what to do? Didn't he only get where he was because of the Skrulls?
Every time you were promoted inside S.H.I.E.L.D., we did that.
Don't you think Talos would have said, hey, dude, maybe don't marry this chick? Well, I guess he didn't. Guess this is one that's on Nick alone for once. Nick did something that the Skrulls were not involved with, in the sense of he married her.
He chose poorly.
Even now he says, I wouldn't change anything. So then he asked his wife to say, how did you choose this woman? And she tells a story about this woman, Priscilla, who's dying. She was a doctor. She's dying of a heart defect. She saw her every day. And the whole thing basically was to find a person that she could imitate to get past Fury's defenses, which means they've been married this entire time. And this entire time, she was trying to spy on Nick, work against Fury.
That's messed up.
That doesn't even work with this story here. Because Gravik and the rebels have only been recently. Has there always been a Skrull rebellion? It just doesn't work.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Regardless, she said, the woman is dying, and she revealed herself to the dying woman. And I guess on the woman's deathbed, she's like, okay, yeah, the shape-shifting alien is saying she wants to take over my life, and I'll let her do it. Okay, that makes sense.
That doesn't make sense to me.
But there's 3 things you have to promise. First off, she asks Mrs. Skrull Fury to bury her at sea. She also says, continue to be a daughter for my parents. So just, don't let, I guess she never told her parents or her family that she was dying, didn't want trouble with them with it. So you just go on being a good daughter for my parents and then never hurt Nick. Okay. They then go back to that poem from the beginning about the whole thing about, beloved on earth, and they pull their guns and shoot at each other. But guess what? Neither of them hits. They shoot in the wall, and Fury jokes,
I'm not sure if this means we should get divorced or we should renew our vows.
dude, I think maybe you should get divorced. I don't think this thing's going to work out. Call me crazy. I don't do family law, but I've seen enough. This is not good. Not good. Call a lawyer. You should have had a prenup. He walks out. She before he goes, she says, would you have loved me if I was myself, my true Skrull self? And he goes, I guess we'll never know. And I guess that's it. That's the end of the beautiful relationship between Nick and Priscilla Fury, who've known about this for so long. this long and beautiful relationship we've all been aware of and followed intently since the beginning of the MCU. Yeah. Found out it about 3 weeks ago after 15 plus years. Great job. Great storytelling, guys. Awesome. Next, we're in this hotel suite where we see a female Skrull getting out of the shower. Turns out this female Skrull is the one who's been impersonating Rhodey. So she walks out of the shower, walks out of the bedroom into the suite area, the living room area, and in there sitting Nick Fury, waiting for him with a big old bottle of Pappy Van Winkle's Family Reserve bourbon. And yeah, he says, this is a $5,000 bottle of bourbon. True, it is. That's some expensive shit. Yeah. And why is Fury there? Well, he just had a bad taste in his mouth with the way things ended between the two of them. So he's there, to try to work it out and make things better between the two of them.
I didn't like the way we left things between us the other day.
Now, Fury tells Skrull Rhodey that, he's not just there to try to make things better between them. He basically wants his job back. And he says, look, there are Skrulls in the government. They're as close to the president as you and I are sitting right across from this table. Yeah, we know how close they are. But he's like, look, I'm not going to tell anyone about this. I just want my job back, which makes absolutely no sense. First off, Skrull Rhodey already told him, we know there are Skrulls in the government, okay? I've known about this. And you're trying to blackmail me by not admitting there are Skrulls? This is a weird tactic for Nick. And we know that Nick has another plan in mind because he's planning a tracker in the bourbon, nano tracker in the bourbon. But this is still a weird line for Fury to go down. There's a bunch of, hey, brother, help a brother out.
I mean, for real, though. Us brothers got to stick together. You know what I mean?
And let's squash this beef. And I want my job back, and I'll keep quiet on the Skrulls. Even Skrull Rhodey's got to go, Nick Fury, are you high? How much of this crap have you been drinking? Jeez, none of this makes sense.
Why do you keep saying that?
So basically, he just tells Fury, get the hell out. I already have a video of you shooting Maria Hill. I'll just use that. See how that goes over at your trial. And then Fury leaves. Like I said, he was planning this whole thing out. He meets up with Talos. He's following the tracker, the Rhodey drank, the nanotech tracker in the bourbon. Because Rhodey then goes to meet President Ritson, Dermot Mulroney. So I guess my thought that the president was actually a Skrull is out the window. I guess he's not. Apparently they're gonna go have a summit with the Russians, and I guess USA and Russia's gonna squash their beef, kind of like Nick and Skrull Rhodey tried to do just now. But the president notices, like, Skrull Rhodey, how much you been drinking? I can smell it just coming off you.
Yeah. Pre-game for our bilateral with the Russians with the half a bottle of bourbon.
Give that man a large coffee. And then they're off down the road. Their presidential convoy takes off. Well, guess what? That's the big old target that Gravik is planning to attack. So the president's motorcade takes off to go to this summit. The weird thing about this is, like, the motorcade itself, it's not what I would think a presidential motorcade should be. I'm like looking at it right here on my other screen, and it's like, so they got a couple cops in front on motorcycles. They got a van and 4 SUVs. That's it. Nothing else. Okay, well, I can see why the Skrulls were able to attack this presidential motorcade, because there's no freaking security. What is going on? I know this is story plot and it is for the story, but Jesus, it's not. It doesn't make any damn sense. I mean, regardless, the attack happens. Gravik comes in on helicopters, launches some rockets at the cars. The assault explodes all over the place. They start attacking. The Skrulls start attacking the president's motorcade, and they're all yelling in Russian. They're all shouting in Russian, and now that's the tip off. So now the American security forces, Secret Service, all of them go, "Oh my God, it's the Russians!" Who else but Russians would speak Russian. No one else does. Oh, God, writers should have come up with something better. Also, the Russians are being led by this black guy. I honestly don't know the racial makeup in Russia, but I feel like there's not a lot of black people. In fact, I think in the first episode this show, Talos was saying, wait, some tall black guy, Nick Fury, is going to walk around the streets of Moscow and not stick out like a sore thumb. You know what? Bottom line is, it's not that bad of an action sequence. You know, for a TV show, it's a pretty good action sequence. So not a great deal of logic. A lot of times it appears that people are literally standing out in the open shooting at each other. I mean, they could at least take cover behind a vehicle or something, but I guess that's not what happens. Fury and Talos show up. They actually drive in behind the Skrull attack force and start taking people out themselves. And then Gravik reveals that he reveals more of his Super Skrull powers. We've already seen him have extremist stuff. So he just walks out in the open to a bunch of Secret Service agents that are literally just standing there in the open, no cover, firing randomly at people. And then he reaches out, grabs them. Whose power is this? This is Groot's power. So he reaches out, Groot style. I am Groot! Grabs hold and then crushes the guy with his branches? That's what it looks like to me. Just in the nick of time. Ooh, sorry about that. Reinforcements show up. So Fury, Talos, and the reinforcements start staging a counterattack, moving in, trying to get the president out of his vehicle, which has been overturned. The president's knocked out. They're trying to get in. They can't get in. Talos, takes his fist and just starts pounding away on the ballistic window, slowly making progress, but he gets shot in the shoulder. Still, he's able to keep pounding away at it. And he starts reverting to his natural Skrull form. So he's like half Talos, half Skrull, kind of Two-Face style. Eventually, he's able to get the president out, but he's been pretty weakened, I guess, by this shot to the shoulder. Fury grabs the president, and he starts taking off to get the president to safety. While Fury secures the president in his car, one of the soldiers turns around and picks up Talos and starts carrying him away. Fury turns around and sees this soldier just standing there with Talos, slung over his shoulder. And he says, put him down. And the soldier doesn't. So Fury thinks something is up. He turns around and shoots a soldier. And he transforms into Gravik. He then looks at Fury and just pulls out a knife and stabs Talos. Now, to me, it looked like he stabbed him where the bullet hit him, which was not in the chest. It's more like the shoulder. Maybe Skrull physiology has their heart up here. I don't know. But it's supposedly a death blow for Talos because he drops to the ground and it looks like he's dead. Fury unloads his magazine on Gravik. It's actually kind of a brutal shot to the face where you see part of his face blown off. It's kind of unusual. I didn't expect that on a D+ show. But it's a decent effect because it shows that, he's got extremis. And then Gravik takes off. Fury takes off, and we're just left there seeing Talos lying on the ground. Maybe we've killed Fury's buddy. Maybe Talos is actually dead. I don't know. I guess we'll find out next week. I have a feeling that Talos is dead. Trying to remember back on some of the other trailers I've seen to see if there are any other scenes where Talos hasn't appeared yet. Maybe there's something in one of the trailers. It looks like it could be a future episode. Of course, we also know that a lot of times the trailers now include stuff that it has never appears in a show or a movie. So overall, I'm going to do something different than I've done in the last 3 recaps. This was actually not bad compared to the other shows. There was some decent acting, decent exchange between Fury and his wife. I thought the Rhodey Fury exchange is kind of stupid, but we had a decent action sequence for a TV show. We actually had action, something different than we've had in the show. It doesn't detract from the fact that, this is an MCU show without any MCU heroes. I mean, yeah, we got Nick Fury, but Marvel Comics is all about superheroes. And Nick Fury's on his own at this point. I guess he's going to get Super Skrull Gaia on his side. She's got extremists in her. I guess that means, based on what we saw in Iron Man 3 with with what's his name? Guy Pearce's character. He can breathe fire. So I guess maybe Guy will become Mother of Dragons after all. Who knows? Anyway, yeah, could have been worse. Didn't hate it as much this episode. I don't know if it's going to turn around, but this for what it was and also just being a half hour, it's tolerable. It's okay. Of course, I don't have any faith in D+ and MCU anymore. We'll just have to see what happens. And we got another week until that happens. Only 2 more episodes left. I'm certain something big and exciting is going to happen that we need to know about in order to watch The Marvels coming to theaters in November. Can't wait for that. Until next time, questions, comments, witticisms down below. There's that subscribe button. You can click that. You can click a share button. You can click a like button. I'll see you later.